Leadership training fails often. Billions of dollars are poured into leadership development programs every year, but companies still struggle with performance for reasons related to leadership, strategy not executed well, trust issues, disengaged workforces, people resisting change or refusing it. A study by McKinsey found that while 90% of organizations invest in leadership development, only 10% feel like they see a clear ROI. So why isn't all this leadership development paying off? You've probably heard these reasons. The content is too theoretical. The learning is not reinforced. The curriculum doesn't connect to real business impact. Those might be true, but there is another critical failure point that too many leadership training program designers are overlooking, and it might surprise you. They're not thinking about empathetic communication. Stick around, because in this video, I will explain more about how leadership training programs fall short in helping leaders lead effectively. And I'm going to offer 3 simple shifts that could make a world of difference in your leadership development program. I'm Becky Fosman from Duarte. For decades, we have trained Fortune 500 leaders and teams to tell their business stories with clarity and confidence. And here's what we've seen again and again. The most successful leadership development programs know that all great business communication is grounded in empathy. Empathy for what their customers and their employees are going through and what results they're hoping to see on the other side. Empathetic communication separates managers from leaders. It underpins nearly every activity a leader is called on to do. Leadership programs that emphasize empathetic communication are set apart from less successful leadership training programs that reduce communication to a set of tactics, like how to give good feedback or design good slides. Here are 3 ways to make sure your leadership programs are on track to deliver the ROI you're after. Leadership development programs emphasize instilling trust, driving engagement, and building commitment. But those aren't just checkboxes. These are deeply emotional leaps that people take when they believe in a leader. If leaders can't communicate persuasively, they won't inspire trust or engagement or commitment. Think about a leader who you would follow anywhere, over mountains, to the moon. Were they persuasive? Did they tell stories? Were they authentic and vulnerable with you? Drop a note in the comments if there's a leader you're thinking of. We would love to see who you admire most. So how do you foster that quality in your own leaders? What communication skills do they need? They have to articulate a vision in a way that resonates both rationally and emotionally. They need to communicate with authenticity and vulnerability, the foundation of two-way trust. And they must listen and adapt their communication to meet their audience's needs. So don't just teach strategy frameworks. Teach leaders to articulate strategy clearly. Don't just teach decision-making. Train them to communicate their recommendations through data storytelling. Don't just teach change management. Equip them to communicate change in a way that aligns and motivates people. Here's how you can make it happen. First, build empathetic storytelling into leadership training. Storytelling isn't just about crafting nice anecdotes. It's about making people feel connected to an idea and motivated to act. Teach leaders how to frame strategy as a story. Leaders need to connect the dots between what's at stake, what needs to change, and why it matters. But a story isn't just information, it's structured to engage. Help leaders practice crafting a compelling before and after vision that makes the need for change undeniable. Use storytelling to clarify complex ideas. Leaders often assume that logic alone will drive action, but emotion is what makes ideas stick. Train them to use analogies, metaphors, and real-world examples to make strategic concepts easy to grasp. Provide structured frameworks for persuasive narratives. Many leaders struggle with storytelling because they don't know where to start. Give them templates or frameworks to guide them in crafting stories that drive alignment and buy-in. Second, teach your technical leaders to communicate simply. Train them to simplify complex concepts for non-technical audiences. A board of directors, a team of engineers, and a frontline sales team all need different levels of detail. Train leaders to gauge the right level of information and adjust their message accordingly. Teach them to explain strategy and decisions without jargon, to gain buy-in from executives, teams, and customers. Help them practice clarity over complexity. If they can't explain an idea in 60 seconds, they need a new approach. Third, make communication an ongoing leadership practice. Encourage leaders to practice the 3 C's of communication: clarity, conciseness, and connection. Teach them to reinforce core messages consistently, because people need to hear something 7 to 10 times before it truly sinks in. Build storytelling and persuasion practice into ongoing coaching, leadership reviews, and team huddles. We expect leaders to set the strategy and be decisive and make quality decisions. And often, leadership training teaches them frameworks for decision-making and strategic thinking. But there's something still missing. What's that missing thing? The realization that great decisions aren't made in isolation. Leaders don't just need data, they need insights from their teams, executives, and customers. If they aren't listening effectively, they're making decisions in the dark. Yet most leadership programs don't teach listening skills at all. That's a major gap. Great leaders aren't just great speakers, they're great listeners. Listening builds trust, it aligns teams, it prevents costly misunderstandings. And listening isn't just about active listening or demonstrating that you're paying attention. It's not just nodding and waiting for your turn to talk. Leaders need to adapt their listening based on what the moment requires. And this is where adaptive listening comes in. Most leaders default to 1 or 2 listening styles, often the ones that feel most natural to them. But great leaders flex between different listening approaches depending on the context. Sometimes they listen to support, when someone needs empathy or reassurance or space to express their thoughts or emotions. Sometimes they listen to advance, when quick action is needed, such as in decision-making or problem-solving. Sometimes they listen to immerse, when deep understanding is required, such as when they're absorbing complex information. And sometimes they listen to discern, when evaluating insights, identifying patterns, and making strategic choices. If you want to develop better listeners, you need to reinforce listening in meetings and during coaching. Have leaders practice the 80-20 rule. Listen 80% of the time, talk 20%. Many leaders will feel pressure to fill every gap in a conversation. Train them to pause for 3 to 5 seconds after someone speaks, allowing deeper insights to emerge. Train them to ask open-ended questions that invite deeper insights. Have leaders ask, "What else should I know about this?" to encourage richer discussion. Encourage them to summarize what they've heard before responding to ensure alignment. You also need to make listening a leadership KPI, including listening effectiveness as part of leadership evaluations. Leaders who listen well drive higher team engagement, better collaboration, and fewer misunderstandings. Use 360-degree feedback surveys to assess how well they seek and act on input. Reward leaders who create cultures of open dialogue, transparency, and psychological safety. But there's still one more shift you're going to need to make. Often, leadership training focuses on execution, driving results, delivering performance, negotiating like a pro, and making things happen. But execution isn't just about checking tasks off of a list. It's about aligning people and keeping them engaged and maintaining momentum. And that requires communication. Your leaders need to explain strategy clearly, set precise goals, and communicate evolving action plans when priorities shift. When roadblocks arise, they need to tell stories that motivate and clarify expectations and align teams. Teaching your leaders frameworks for developing strategy, organizing their day, and creating action plans helps them develop behaviors and habits. So you need to do the same with communication in your leadership development program. Empathetic communication skills are not learned in a single workshop. They require ongoing reinforcement, like any skill. Practice, coaching. So don't just train your leaders to communicate well once. Reinforce communication skills over time. You need to embed communication into leadership evaluations. You could do this by requiring leaders to demonstrate their persuasive communication skills in performance reviews. Whether it's explaining a strategy, rallying a team, or handling a difficult conversation, your leaders should be evaluated on how effectively they deliver their message and engage their audience. And make sure you include metrics for clarity, alignment, trust, and engagement in leadership assessments. You'll also want to use real-world scenarios and coaching. Have leaders record and analyze their own presentations or those tough employee or customer conversations that they have for clarity and impact. And then use playback analysis to review their tone, their clarity, their engagement, and their storytelling effectiveness. Consider providing ongoing peer coaching and feedback loops to refine those leadership communication skills. And all of this only works if you create a culture of continuous communication training. Make storytelling practice a part of leadership meetings. Communication shouldn't be reserved for big moments. Leaders should integrate storytelling into team meetings, into one-on-ones, into performance reviews. Consider setting up a communication lab where leaders workshop their messaging before major company rollouts. Give leaders coaching in executive presence, persuasion, and storytelling throughout their career, not just once. So here's the bottom line. Leadership training fails when it ignores the one skill that makes or breaks a great leader: empathetic communication. If you want leaders who can execute, who can align teams, who can inspire action, you need to teach them to communicate with clarity, empathy, and impact. And that's where we can help. At Duarte, we've spent decades training leaders at the world's top companies in the art of persuasive communication. If you're an L&D leader or an executive looking to revamp your leadership development program, we have something for you. Download our free guide on the communication skills that every leader needs. Just click the link in the description. And if you want a deeper dive, let's talk. We offer corporate training programs that turn good leaders into great communicators. What do you think? Have you seen leadership training fail because of poor communication? Drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your experiences. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights on leadership, communication, and storytelling. We're here to help you shape a better world through the power of outstanding communication.